Hello, this is to present Mohsen Rostami's and Hossein Shukui's paper with the affiliation of National Defense High University from Iran. Systemic Prevention Effect in Security Crisis Management. That's the title of the paper. And I would like to give great thanks and gratitude for this opportunity. This is great, and we are quite honored for this great opportunity to present this paper in this video. Unfortunately, we couldn't be there, or we couldn't present this in the live manner because of the internet situation, but we're hoping that this can make do. So, in this paper, as I told you, the topic is going to be about crisis management, and crisis is actually one of those things that has heavy institutional pressure, and it does have a very negative effect in terms of social consequences, that it could have irreparable damage. Now, in this paper, we're trying to attempt to make sense of approaches, patterns, hypotheses, mechanisms, and methods that help crisis managers. And of course, this is going to be a bit of a difficult situation because data collection is really difficult in social sciences, and well, crisis management is actually something that is not a very simple matter. It's a very delicate situation, and there are a lot of factors to be taken into consideration. Now, the reality is that when it comes to crisis and when it comes to management of the crisis, we have to admit that inseparable part of crisis management is that it's going to have insoluble uncertainty, and this is not going to change, and it's not something that we can really have any control of. This is inevitable. However, there are methods and there are ways to maybe contain this, and this paper is attempting to discuss that exactly. Um, well, there are two ways of looking at this. The first one would be the prevention, and the fact that you would try to prevent the situation from escalating or maybe exacerbating. And the next one would be having an informed situation. Basically, when you have enough information about everything, you can make an informed decision regarding the crisis and to be able to manage it in a better way. But the source of the crisis is also important too. I mean, when it comes to any crisis, we have to understand that a disaster could actually be the source of a crisis. Now, a disaster could probably be natural, like an earthquake or flood or anything that is related to the nature, and it has its own irreparable damages and consequences, and the effect on society and economy, they're really not negligible. However, the reality is that we cannot really control that, and we cannot really do anything regarding the prevention of this. But there are other ways of disasters that could be controlled, and those disasters are induced ones. Now, there are a variety of reasons why induced disasters happen. It could be war, it could be opposition, hostage situation, abductions, hijacking, variety of ways that any sort of disaster could be induced. And for those situations, there are remedies, there are ways to prevent, there are ways to contain, and probably even um, maybe mend some of the social consequences and economical consequences that the society will inevitably suffer. Now, this paper has the approach of descriptive analytical for the way that it analyzes the data, and actually, the type of the research is actually an applied development paper. And the data collection happened in two forms, library and field version. And the conclusions of this paper is actually kind of related to the ways that we can categorize the way we can deal with the situations. Now, there are three levels when it comes to crisis management. There's three levels of the way that we have to deal with the crisis. The first one would be the level one interpretive level, that you have to collect data, you have to collect information, and to know exactly what you're dealing with, to know exactly what it is that you are up against. And then the second level and the third level, which is kind of they're integrated in each other, is basically the reaction and the consequences. To paying attention to the consequences. However, the reactionary stage is very delicate. The way that you have to react is quite important. Now, for instance, depending on the situation, military involvement could happen, or maybe other approaches. But you have to do pros and cons according to the situation. That is it really worth it? Is it really the best option? And the categories of security crisis are basically the way that we look at it. There are three forms of logic when it comes to security crisis: coercive security crisis, and then reform coercive logic, reform logic, and superiority logic. Now, coercive logic is actually quite easy. It's an idea that in the space of international politics, one can never really get rid of the competition and conflicts to maintain security. So, human nature and disorderly conditions in the international arena are such that people will be forced to live in this conflict-ridden world. Basically, in this form of logic, it is the belief that there's no getting away with this situation, and we just have to endure. We just have to find somehow to be okay with it. But the reform logic, it is an idea that the conditions of competition and conflict to maintain security can be improved or partially reduced for a while. And but it will never disappear in these conditions. The goal and the purpose of governments and societies is very important because it can improve the worst conditions of chaos. And of course, the superiority logic. The superiority logic is the idea that human society is self based, and humans are in the form of individuals and groups, agents and brokers, and in this way, a human society can achieve what it has chosen. Although inherent limitations in the structure of society are always very effective, the creation of peaceful global society will be possible, although it may seem unlikely at the moment. And well, the discussions go deeper to looking at the short-term benefits and long-term benefits of different solutions when it comes to crisis management. But for example, we say that military power, military involvement could be a solution. However, the reality is that it has only short-term benefits, and long-term benefits are, to a great extent, probably not real. Practical research suggestions that we had for this paper. The first, I'm just gonna, because of the time and the situation that we have right now, I don't think that we can make this video too long, so I'm going to just try to shorten everything and try to just say it in the shortest way possible so that I can get all the information right. Just I can tell you the titles that for practical research suggestions: order, authority, pattern, and crisis management team, evaluation of the status based on information, and psychological self control of managers, establishing communication channels, specific important messages, different areas that we can actually look at these questions, these ideas, and to maybe dig deeper to maybe find a better way to find the solutions. And in a nutshell, what I have just said kind of summarizes what this paper is going to be about. And as I told you, again, I'm going to review that this paper is trying and attempting to understand the approaches, understand the way that something could be useful in crisis management. Now, we are trying to clarify and recognize the literature that contributes to crisis managers and stand against crisis through providing proper theories, patterns, hypotheses, mechanisms, and methods. And at the end of this article, the approach that we discussed, the three categories and the way that is discussed, is focused on the value of crisis prevention, and it's quite valuable to try to prevent other than just to contain and control, through paying due attention to the signs of crisis emergence. And as discussed, there are ways to contain the situation. However, crisis prevention would be a better idea. Essentially, it comes down to understanding the signs, the social signs, the cues that a crisis is emerging, or it has to be contained according to the situation. Now, that was my short presentation of this paper. I hope it was useful. I hope it was conclusive and comprehensive. In a short clip, 10-11 minutes clip, we obviously cannot really convey the message that we have tried to convey in this paper. However, I hope that it was enough. And again, apologies for the situation that we have to present this paper in this offline video manner. If you don't have any questions, then I believe that would be the end of it. And thank you again for this opportunity.